Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Flint Rocks. This one is going to be a special one. Joining me later, I have actor Johnny Cannizzaro, who plays Steve Van Zandt in the new Springsteen biopic Deliver Me From Nowhere. But before that, I wanted to run through this week's rock news with you. Starting with Bon Jovi. They will be releasing the third single from the Forever Legendary edition. This time, it's going to be We Made It Look Easy featuring Robbie Williams. With Guns N' Roses, Slash has announced finally that we may have a new album on the horizon. It sounds like the band have been recording and have got lots of material to work through. Guns N' Roses have also announced a new vinyl edition of their live album, Live Era 87 to 93. It's a new vinyl edition which features a bonus version of Coma, which sounds really exciting. Look for that in November. In Journey news, Jonathan Cain, the keyboardist, has announced his departure from the band after a series of shows in 2026. Hopefully this means that we'll be getting a new Journey album before he leaves, and hopefully a UK tour as well. Lastly, Foreigner played their final show with frontman Kelly Hansen on Saturday, turning the page on Hansen's 2-decade career with the classic rockers, and it prepares them for a new chapter with a fresh singer. Before we get to the interview, I did just also want to plug 3 bands that I have discovered over the last couple of weeks. If you do follow the podcast on the Instagram page, which is just at FlintRocks89, you may have already seen these, but I thought for people that just like to listen to this, here are 3 really awesome bands with 3 really awesome tracks. Firstly, Temporary by Ryan Purdes. Ryan has been influenced by Chris Cornell, Nirvana, and Foo Fighters, blending grunge with mainstream rock. This is a really cool song, and I thoroughly recommend checking this out. Secondly, we've got Alive by Lafferty, which if you like your folk and Americana, you're going to like this song. And lastly, Be Like This from the band Far From the City. These guys are really cool and remind me of Catfish and the Bottlemen, so check them out. Just before we move on to our featured interview, I wanted to make a slight disclaimer and just confirm that this is a spoiler-free interview, although we do discuss scenes that have been featured in the trailer and in press material. There's nothing really that's going to stop you from enjoying the film. So I hope you enjoy the interview. We're joined today by actor Johnny Cannizzaro. Johnny's known for his roles in Quantum Leap, Matlock, NCIS, Hawaii, and Criminal Minds. And he's soon to be seen in the new Springsteen biopic, Deliver Me From Nowhere, playing the legendary Steve Van Zandt. Thank you for coming on Flint Rocks, Johnny.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Jamie. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So this is a music-based podcast. So I wanted to start our conversation by asking you, what kind of music was surrounding you when you was growing up?
Growing up, I had sort of a very eclectic taste in music. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan, which is easily accessible if you look me up. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan, but my tastes kind of range. I love everything from Frank Sinatra to the Chili Peppers to Billy Joel to Garth Brooks. And I grew up with that much variety, in my home growing up. My parents were very eclectic as well with their musical taste.
Awesome. So with Billy Joel, obviously that links in with Bruce. There was not really a rivalry between the two artists. It was mainly sort of Columbia that was sort of pushing Billy when Bruce was at a point there where he was making Born to Run. And then there's the really cool story there about Billy building Bruce a bike, and then the bike
Yeah.
broke down. So it's quite nice that the two artists sort of link well together.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, that you were born New York, you moved to New Jersey in early life?
Right, yeah. So I was born in a little area of Brooklyn called Bensonhurst, which was made famous if you remember the movie, if you've ever seen the movie Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta from
Yeah.
the early 1970s. That was the neighborhood that I grew up in. Very Italian American neighborhood. And then when I was about 5, my family decided, let's get out of the city, let's move to New Jersey. So we moved to a little town called Homedale in central New Jersey, Monmouth County, which happens to be where this film is based, because it's where Bruce Springsteen grew up as well. So it was really kind of interesting how, it's like a full circle life moment.
Definitely. So I imagine sort of, especially when you moved to New Jersey, the sort of specter of Bruce loomed quite large. Can you remember sort of the first time that you come across Bruce, or was it somebody that was always there?
Yeah, well, when I was young, I didn't. I mean, of course, everybody knows the name Bruce Springsteen, but when you're a kid, you don't really follow it. At least I didn't. So I didn't know much of his music. I knew the songs if I would hear them on the radio. I didn't really know what he looked like. You just hear the lore of this guy named Bruce Springsteen and that he lived locally. Um, but as I grew older, I definitely got into his music a little bit more, and then I had an opportunity to meet him because I was working in a mall when I was maybe 17, 18. And Bruce came in one day, and one of my coworkers had said, "Oh my God, there's Bruce Springsteen." And it meant really not much to me because I didn't even know what he looked like. But I wound up helping sell him a ball cap, which was really kind of funny. He bought a ball cap from me because I was a sales store. And when I met him, I reminded him that I sold him a ball cap, but he had no recollection of it, obviously. But it was kind of funny. And then after that, I got more and more into his music because when you meet someone, I think by default you become more invested.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, what was the point in your life that you decided you wanted to be an actor?
It was pretty young. I used to do the theater, the plays in middle school and in high school, and I just always had that itch. They call it the bug, the bug to perform. But I was very shy at the same time. But one of my teachers was very supportive and convinced me to audition for the school play. So I did, and I had a very small role. I remember playing like I was playing like a tree or something in The Wizard of Oz. And the trees throw apples in the stage version of The Wizard of Oz. So I did that, and I just remember all the parents after the production coming up to me, being like, "Oh, you were so amazing! You made so much out of something so small." And that's when I first started to think to myself, "Oh, well, I seem to maybe I did something right." And so I sort of developed a love for it from there, and I still do. Any character I take on, I invest my whole heart and soul into. So I. That was those were the beginnings of it, I guess you would say.
Awesome. And then again, correct me if I'm wrong, that you moved from sort of like New York, you're now working in LA, and then we've got different roles coming in. So Quantum Leap, Matlock, and the one that I'm going to have to ask you about, and my wife would kill me if I didn't, was Criminal Minds. She's a massive Criminal Minds fan, so she did say one thing. Can you ask Johnny if he's got any sort of memories about sort of acting on Criminal Minds?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, yeah. Well, Joe Mantegna, he's been doing Criminal Minds for so long. And so I've gotten to know him a little bit, through mutual friends and whatnot. And he's such a cool guy. He's the most down to earth actor, for someone so notable. And I'm trying to think of a specific memory from that set. I did one episode, so it wasn't a huge arc or anything like that, but it was just still such a blast to work on that show because the whole cast was amazing. AJ Cook, I'm sure your wife knows AJ Cook and
Yeah.
Adam Rodriguez and all of these actors. They're like such pros, and they were so they embraced me so much as they do with any guest actor that comes on the show, and it was just a great experience.
That's awesome. Thank you. So I suppose we should talk about this big new role that people are going to see you on October the 24th, Steve Van Zandt, which is a pretty awesome role to be taking on. So how did you prepare for the role of Stevie?
Well, I wanted the role so bad when I first got the audition notification from my manager. She didn't think anything of it because I just fit the role, so she sent it to me. And I knew who Stevie was, obviously, because he was from the same area. So I told her very emphatically, I said, I want this role, whatever we have to do. It wasn't a necessarily a large role, but Stevie is such a crucial part of Bruce's life. I didn't even care. I didn't know anything about the script. I just said I wanted the role. So anyway, I ultimately got the audition. I put myself on tape for it. Got a few notes back from the director. I think it was more of a visual thing. They were trying to match the look of Stevie because he's got a very specific look, especially in that era.
Yeah.
And then so I taped it again with a few notes from the director. And about a month later, we got the offer that I had booked it. So I was thrilled about that. obviously. And to prepare, I was assigned a guitar coach from the studio who I worked with for about 2 or 3 months, named Larry Saltzman. And Larry was incredible because he's a pro guitar player. He plays in Broadway orchestra pits. He tours with Simon and Garfunkel. Just the best coach I could have asked for. And we really dissected a lot of the intricacies of how Stevie plays. And I keep repeating this, but the way he holds the guitar, the way, the length of his strap, the way he strums, all those things were super important to both of us. And I wanted to make sure that I was nailing them as authentically as I could.
And I think that's going to be really appreciated by the fans because I guess you probably watched the footage of like the No Nukes performance because I think that's the only sort of HD footage that we've got of the E Street Band. I know that's sort
Yeah.
of just as the start of the River era. And it's already you can see sort of the clip that they put up of you guys playing Born to Run. People are like, right, what guitars people playing? Like, okay, so Jeremy, when he's playing that part of Born to Run, why is he strumming there? And why is the guy that playing Gary smiling? Because Gary doesn't smile. And there's so many bits and pieces. So is that sort of preparation in a role like this with fanatics, I think is absolutely key.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt.
My other question was, did you play guitar beforehand, or is it something that you had to learn particularly for this role?
Well, I'm a musician. Generally, I'm a piano player primarily, but I had a little bit of knowledge of the piano. I mean, of the guitar. As a lot of musicians have a knowledge of other instruments, even though they're not their primary instrument. So it was good that I had a knowledge. And when I started working with Larry, he was so thrilled about that because it made his job so much easier that I wasn't learning from scratch. I already knew basic chords and strum patterns and things like, and even a little bit of finger picking, but that didn't really apply in this case. But yeah, so I didn't have to learn from scratch. It was definitely a benefit having some knowledge.
Did you get to meet with Stevie in advance of filming? I know you did later on, and there's some really cool pictures of you at the premiere, which I was going to get to later. But did
Yeah.
you get a chance to chat to him in advance?
Yeah, yeah. So the funny thing was, Stevie has a brother named Billy Van Zandt, and Billy is a playwright and a TV producer in his own right. And I used to work for Billy in New Jersey when he would workshop productions of plays that he wrote with his partner. And I was just, an assistant. I would work backstage, but it was when I was quiet. I was a lot younger, and so we didn't get to know each other that well. But when I booked this role, I had his contact info, so I reached out to him and I said, "Hey Billy, I don't know if you remember me, but I just booked a role. I'm going to be playing your brother Stevie in this Springsteen film. Is there any way you'd be willing to connect me with your brother?" And he was super kind about it, very gracious, and he linked me up with Stevie. That I got an email from Stevie, and he told me to come meet him at a little place in the village that same week, which I did. And we sat together for a few hours and just chatted. We just chatted, and I picked his brain a little bit and just listened to him. Because when you get to talk to someone like that, you just let them go on and on and on, and you just soak it all up. He's such a wealth of knowledge, especially about music. He's like an encyclopedia.
He is. Have you had the chance to read his book?
Yes, yes, yes. I did read his book, and I listened to the audio book version as well. Yeah, it's so good, and I've actually been meaning to start it again because I enjoyed it so much the first time. I think I'm going to listen to it a second time.
I was going to say the audiobook has been my preferred version for listening to it. And then listening to his albums as he talks about sort of how he produced them, the ideas that he had for them. And there's another really good book. It's probably the only other book written about Stevie, which is by the author Robert Lawson. And if you just go on Amazon, have a look for his book about Stevie, that is fantastic. And that sort of takes you through his entire career as well. So that's a little plug
Yeah,
there for Robert, and a recommendation for yourself.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's so cool to be able to hear the story from in his own voice when you can hear the person who actually experienced it telling you. So I enjoy the audiobooks myself.
And I think with Stevie as well, he's been very sort of, he doesn't beat around the bush at all. He's very direct, and especially about sort of this Nebraska period and about his thoughts being in the studio. And it's almost Nebraska for Springsteen fans is sort of hallowed grounds. Then we've got the Electric Nebraska sessions, which are sort of the holy grail. And you've got Stevie that's obviously listened to this, and us fans that have been waiting 40 years to sort of experience this.
Yeah.
It must be quite a surreal thing for sort of someone like yourself to be sat there with him and he's sort of talking about those sort of experiences. How
Yeah.
long were you filming for on the movie?
The full production schedule, I would say, was probably about 3 months, give or take. It was about 3 months or so. I wasn't on it for the entire length of the production, but I was probably on it for about a month, I would say, a month, month and a half, somewhere around there.
And I think most people who have been listening to this podcast will have seen the clip that was released with you guys playing Born to Run on the last night of the River Tour. Can you talk
Yeah,
me through that? Because I imagine that must have been sort of an amazing experience there. You've got a crowd in front of you shouting and screaming. Playing one of the best rock songs ever. I know
yeah.
Jeremy Allen White has sort of said that there was a weird moment when the director sort of shouted cut and then the audience stopped cheering. Have you got any sort of reflections on that sort of period of filming?
Yeah, I think it took me a long time to even let that day of film, or actually it was 2 days, those days of filming sink in because it was just so, it's an experience, that in all likelihood I may never have again. So you want to just embrace every second of it. But yeah, I think there were about 500 extra background actors or so. And they were great, they were fantastic because they were just providing all this energy to us on stage as they're shooting. And the second that the director yells cut, yeah, everybody just kind of suddenly gets quiet. So it's awkward for a moment, but I laughed too when I heard Jeremy say that because it that's exactly what it's like. But in the moments though, when they are cheering and screaming your name or the name of the characters, yeah, nothing is more thrilling than that. It was really fantastic.
I could imagine so, like inhabiting that role and looking out and you're seeing those adoring fans must have been something special. So the other scenes that I have seen you in have been sort of all about the filming side of things of Electric Nebraska. So Springsteen takes his acoustic demos into the studio and then he tries to replicate that magic with his band.
Right.
What was that like? Because I could imagine that's very different from sort of like the euphoria that you feel on stage. I guess lots of sort of stress, anxiety, and you've got a lot more sort of going on in those kind of scenes there. Can you talk me through those at all?
Yeah, well, for the film, it's not a traditional biopic in the sense where, like, the other biopics you might have seen, like the Elvis biopic or the Freddie Mercury biopic. This is about a very specific period of time in Bruce Springsteen's life. So it's not specifically about his relationship with the E Street Band. It's more internalized. It's about this, a very dark creative period when he was sort of still figuring out who he was as an artist. So during those sessions, he was getting so frustrated. Bruce was getting so frustrated because he wasn't able to replicate the sound that he was able to get in his bedroom with those Nebraska tracks. And when he recorded with the band, see, I don't want to give away too much because they're
No,
so
no.
but there are moments where you just feel Bruce's frustration and he ultimately and how he kind of ultimately gets what he's looking for. But it's a struggle for him.
And Bruce was on set as well. Was he there for any of your filming?
Yeah, yeah, he was there pretty much every day. Every day that I was there, he was there. And I know he was there for pretty much the whole production, which was an amazing benefit. Some actors, I heard Jeremy say it was a little intimidating, having him there. But he was the most down to earth, nice guy, to everyone. He was so cool, and you could tell he was happy to be there. Everybody was so they just wanted to do him justice and his story. That's the most important thing. And everybody was definitely on the same page as far as that was concerned. So it was great to have him there sort of overseeing everything.
Do you have a favorite memory from filming experience?
Gosh, I have so many. One of my favorite, and I've been saying this a lot when asked, but When we were shooting at the power station, which is the recording studio that they actually recorded the Born in the USA session, recorded the whole album there, that was cool in itself. But when Jeremy Allen White first came into the room, we were all standing there talking to the director, and Jeremy came over and he kind of put his arm, right on my shoulder and right around me and embraced me immediately before we had even had the opportunity to say hello to one another. And that was just very meaningful to me because as an actor, obviously you want to be able to have the relationship with your castmates, especially we want to be able to I wanted to allow Jeremy to feel that relationship that he had with Stevie. That's what was important to me. But Jeremy at the same time had the weight of the world on his shoulders playing that role. So at the same time, I didn't want to overwhelm or get in his way of his process. But just the fact that he came over to me and did that was very special to me. And it just shows who he is as a performer and as an actor and really as a person.
And I think that's one thing that I've heard through sort of different interviews around this project has been that it, he's a special talent and he looks like somebody that has got a real serious future in sort of acting. He's obviously got his roles in The Bear, and he's done several really high profile movies, but there's already slight Oscar buzz around him. Do you think there might be a potential Oscar for him in the future?
I think he's definitely would be definitely deserving if that opportunity comes around for him from what I saw. Um, I certainly don't know any more than you do, but I hope that's the case. I hope that the people who make those decisions recognize it because everybody that was on set certainly did, including myself. So I hope to see lots more from him, and I think he's more than deserving.
That's awesome. So now moving on from sort of the filming side of things, you guys
Yeah,
got to premiere the film in New York.
yeah.
That
New York Film Festival.
that looked like a really epic premiere, to be honest with you. That you guys obviously had all the fans there, and then you've got your standing ovation. And then Bruce comes out and he sings "Land and Hope and Dreams," which is a really powerful song, and especially in this kind of political turmoil that we're sort of going through, not just in sort of America, sort of here in the UK as well. It just seems
Yeah.
a real special moment, and especially because Nebraska, I've obviously read the book Deliver Me from Nowhere by Warren Zanes. It's a dark period. And then at the end of the film, at the end of everything, there's joy, and he's coming out singing a song there. So do you feel that although that there is sort of darkness throughout this film, there is sort of a slimmer of joy towards the end?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so. It's interesting actually because you never know what's going to happen in post-production of a film. And I did notice from this original script that we were given that there were changes that were made from the last day of shoot to what ultimately wound up being the final cut of the film. And that was really interesting. But those are the kinds of things that you can't anticipate. But I'm assuming it's because how strong Jeremy's performance was in the later part of the film. So I think they just decided that maybe it's best to end it on this note rather than this note, without giving too much away. It's extremely powerful. And I think it does. It ends with like a touch of optimism, as any good film probably should.
What was it like having that performance from Bruce?
That
Was
was
that the premiere?
incredible. Yeah. I was lucky enough to have my mom, my dad, my twin brother there with me. And the place was just packed. I mean, it was just so exciting. I mean, nobody expected him to perform. It was just kind of a bonus that we all sort of got. And the meaningfulness of the song in general is powerful. But
Yeah.
after having just seen the film, and then to see that performance just made it resonate that much more with people, and it made it even more powerful and poignant in that moment.
And what do you think people are going to feel coming away from the movie? So, film's finished and they're walking out. What do you think is going to be going through sort of their heads?
Yeah, well, I could tell you for me, what I left thinking was that as a creative person, as an artist, it really kind of forces you to have more of an understanding of creative people and people who go, and I shouldn't say that, not just creative people, because we all go through dark periods in life and, struggles and battles and whatnot. But for people who are as creative and as brilliant as Bruce, I feel that it gives them a better understanding of those people because artists are often misunderstood, So I think if anything, m more understanding of that is what I hope they walk away with because that's what I walked away with.
That's really, really interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of
So
course.
what's next for yourself? Have you got any roles that you can discuss? What's on the horizon for yourself?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I'm in the midst of a really interesting independent horror film called Stegosaurus.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really gory horror film. I play a serial killer, which is a new type of role for me, so I'm excited to do that. And that'll probably be coming out sometime next year, directed by a guy named Sam Rocco, who's a phenomenal young director. Excited to work with him. And other than that, I have a few TV things that I've already done that are sort of in limbo right now. And I'm also a writer, so I've written a few TV pilots, trying to get those green lit. So I do a little bit of everything. You have to do it all these days.
And the last thing that I tend to ask all my guests on the podcast, can you recommend my audience an album to go away and listen to?
Hmm.
Putting you on the spot here.
Okay, going back to my obsession with Billy Joel, I think it's an underrated album. I know it's his least favorite album because it was recorded at the wrong speed, but the Cold Spring Harbor album, one of Billy Joel's early albums, I love it. I love it. It doesn't sound like quintessential Billy Joel, but it's kind of like when he was first discovering his sound too, to me. I just love it. There's so many good tunes on there I could listen to him over and over again. But it was recorded at the wrong speed, which is why he sounds like a chipmunk.
It's unique. And I have to ask you as well, while we're talking about Billy Joel, if you've got a couple more minutes,
Sure.
have you seen the Billy Joel documentary? I'm sure you have.
No, oh
So,
my God. I know. I actually haven't yet, but I'm going to. I have to be like in a right state of mind before I watch it because I keep hearing how incredible it is.
yeah,
And I've been so busy the past few months, so I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. But it's on my agenda, and I probably will be doing that in the next maybe week or two.
please do. It's very raw. There's not many documentaries that I've seen where somebody is so open about sort of things that have been going on and dark things within their lives. And you obviously know Billy's story. I don't want to spoil sort of how much Billy gives away, but it's a really powerful watch and you're in for a treat there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my recommendation to you. When you get some time, go away and watch that.
Oh, I was just gonna say in regards to that, literally my dream role is to play Billy Joel. So I have to be in that right state of mind when I watch it because he's like my idol. Totally my idol.
Think that's probably next step for yourself there then. You was telling me you was a writer. We need a Billy Joel movie.
I know,
We've had an Elvis movie, we've had a Bruce movie. Where's the Billy Joel movie?
I know. You would think. I mean, who knows? I haven't heard anything about one, but maybe I'll drop a word in a few people's ears and see what happens.
What needs to happen is Warren Zanes needs to pick a part of Billy's life, go and write a book, and then
You
we
know,
get
it's
the team.
Yeah,
Carry on.
it's funny. I asked him when I first met Warren, the first day I met him, I said, "Have you ever considered writing a book on Billy Joel?" And he said, he's like, I wouldn't be the guy to do it. That's what he told me. So I thought that was interesting, but I respect that. He knew he was the guy to do it on Bruce, but he didn't think he would be the guy to do it on Billy. So
I find with myself when I go through, I get into artists and then I become obsessed with parts of their career. And I really do
yeah,
feel we are missing a Billy Joel book. There's an amazing, well, just to plug Warren again, his Tom Petty book is absolutely fantastic. If you like Tom Petty, his Springsteen book is fantastic. There's a really good Clash book if you're ever interested in the Clash about sort of Joe Strummer and sort of the second version of the Clash. And there's all of these really good music books, but I need a Billy book. So if anybody is out there listening, this is my plea. I'd like a Billy book. Johnny would like to play Billy. Come on, let's make this happen.
Let's
Um,
make it happen.
so yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening on Flint Rocks. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish you tremendous success with this movie. I can't wait to see it. So it's going to be another 2 weeks for me. And I'm sure I'll be coming back and sort of telling you, right, yeah, I think Stevie's guitar would have been a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, and giving you some feedback there.
I'll take the criticism.
But I am sure it's going to be absolutely awesome. So thank you again, Johnny.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure being here.
That was actor Johnny Cannizzaro. And I'm really thankful for Johnny for spending some time with me and discussing all things Deliver Me From Nowhere. Just before we wrap things up today, I just wanted to thank every one of you that have sent feedback through, listened to the episode 1. And as a special thank you, I'd like to thank Steve Van Zandt for shouting us out on Twitter. That completely blew my mind and definitely one of the coolest things that has happened to me in a while. So next week sees the release of Deliver Me From Nowhere into cinemas and the expanded edition of Nebraska. I'll be doing a review episode on both of those towards the end of next week. And then that's going to be it for October. As we move into November, the first album that we'll be looking at will be the Clash's Cut the Crap album, which was diversive to say the least upon release. Recently, though, it has been upgraded by a group of diehard fans to restore it more in line with the Clash's live performances of the time. Later in November, author Robert Lawson will join me to discuss Steve Van Zandt's first solo album, Men Without Women. And I'm really looking forward to that chat because Robert really knows his stuff. So thank you very much for joining us on Flint Rocks today. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Johnny Cannizzaro. I hope you enjoyed Deliver Me From Nowhere. And please like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. And we'll be back with a new episode soon.